Welcome to the Heal Create podcast, everybody. I'm Courtney. I'm so glad you're here, and I have somebody very dear to me that I've been working with for the past year. Her name is Ruby Rose Fox, and well, first I'll start by saying welcome, Ruby.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Courtney.
Hi. Thank you for being here with all of our technical difficulties. That's just podcast life, right? Or any
It's any
production, I
life,
feel like.
music
It's just
life.
life in general. But creatives have it harder, right? That's what we're here to talk about. The
Very
sensitive
much.
creatives. Well, can you give us a little bit of a background on who you are? Because what you do is something that has changed my life, answered prayers, answered big, deep questions that I've had for so long. And I'll start by saying that I found you on Instagram a few years back because you were talking about um, the nervous system and understanding your nervous system as a performer. And that
Mhm.
was something I was really struggling on and off the stage as a worship leader. And so I really was drawn to your work and had been following you. And anyways, I ended up taking your certification course and just had my mind blown. My mind blown every single week.
Mm.
And so can you tell us what your background is as a
Sure.
creative, and then why you wanted to connect understanding your nervous system with artistry and performance?
Sure.
Just a small question
Just a little question.
for your life and your
Uh,
purpose.
so before I started sort of my nervous system company for artists,
Yeah.
I've been an artist my whole life. I started singing when I was 7, begged my parents for voice lessons. Um, I was in a band for like 10 years, touring as in high school. I studied opera in high school. I studied classical music in high school at New England Conservatory. And then because I was doing so much music, I was like, well, I've been there, done that. I'm going to do some acting now. And went to Emerson College for acting. I had I'd probably say like 5-7 year career as an actor, like no music, just acting.
Wow.
And then I thought I might be a Buddhist chaplain, and then
That's a that that's a pivot.
yeah, it was a bit bad breakup. And then,
That'll do it.
yeah, makes sense. And then I just knew I had to be a singer-songwriter.
Mm-hmm. I love
Um,
that story, by the way.
Mostly because I, like, came upon Leonard Cohen's work, and it was the first time I felt like my soul was mirrored in another artist,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, you can do that?
That's allowed?
That's allowed?"
Yeah. Right.
So then I had a full-on music career for a while. And there's so much more to say, but the beginnings of this work started very, very young. Like the first time I ever had big questions about what was happening behind the human being was in acting class. We had this incredible guest teacher named Tim Douglas. Um, he's really known for August Wilson plays
Mm.
and just a stunning man. And he was working with us in a way no other acting teacher was working with us. And he basically said, learn all your lines, do not act. Do not come in and act. Just learn the lines, don't put any affectation on them. And then he said, all I want you to do is start from where you are.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, actors that I did not think were going anywhere in life were Meryl Streep level good. And I remember
Wow.
writing in huge lettering in my notebook, everyone has talent.
Mhm.
And then other things came up. Like I was very drawn to Patsy Rottenberg's work, who wrote the books The Second Circle. She talks about 3 modes of energy:
Mhm.
first circle, second circle, third circle, which perfectly matched the nervous system. But no one was talking about that at the time.
Oh.
She mentions the nervous system very quickly once in her book.
Wow.
Um, but she's talking about the nervous system the whole time. She's talking about pushed energy, which is fight or flight, hold energy, which is freeze, and the safe and social energy, which is she calls presence.
Mm.
And so I had been using nervous system work in some of my voice lesson clients and my own acting work and my own performing work for years until
Mhm.
I hit a wall.
Yes.
I had a huge event in my life that caused my, like, nervous system to, like, turn inside out artistically.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, what was driving me before was no longer driving me because I was, like, seeing things and growing in ways
Yeah.
that both there was burnout happening, but there was more going on than that. Like, it was
Yeah.
like I was seeing patterns and why I was functioning the way I was functioning. Um,
I wonder if that's always associated with burnout, honestly. I can't think of any season in my life where I wasn't totally tapped out, where I look back and I'm like, "Oh, I was outgrowing old
yeah,
beliefs and
it was an
patterns." Yeah.
outgrowing of at a certain point, things fall apart
Yeah.
egoically. And
Yeah.
what I didn't realize was that, like, I wasn't a person because I grew up in a cult. I grew up in a Christian
Mm.
evangelical cult, and I wasn't allowed to be
Hmm.
myself.
Yeah. Do you think that
Well,
was, like, the main reason for the breakdown
um,
at that point? Or were
the
there a lot of
main
factors?
yeah, a lot of factors, but, like, the main reason was I became a person. Like, I named my band Ruby Rose Fox, and, like, I named the I named every it like, my name was a big deal. Like, I was
Mhm.
creating the ego that never was created as a child,
Mm, mhm.
which was healthy until
For a
it
time. Yeah.
for a time, and
Yeah.
then it reached a point where there was ready for a transcendence to
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
maturation phase of my life.
Yeah.
And there's more. There's more in there. Um, but during the sort of, like, cocoon phase where I'm falling apart, um, I learned about polyvagal theory.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the first thing I said is like, this is Patsy Rautenberg's work, except she didn't have the language.
Mhm.
So there was nothing in me that was like, "Oh, polyvagal theory is not real." It's like, I don't need like, to me, the science is
Like,
like,
you're living it. Yeah.
I had lived it. I had
Mhm.
seen people freeze in front of me hundreds of times as an actor, in rehearsals, in
Mhm.
professional theater, in my training programs. There was
Yeah.
no names, there was no language for what was happening to us. And
Yeah.
my brain literally exploded because decades of experiences were finally having language. It's
Yeah.
like it's like when a baby just when you're a mom, so it's like when you have a baby and it's just crying and that it
Yeah.
finally has language to tell you what it needs, it's like it gets a superpower by having language.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So to me, I was like, I can talk about everything that I've been through, and I can see patterns now because I have a model to see patterns in.
Right.
And that was just like the very beginning of the journey of, like, the work that I do now, which is much more complicated and has grown every
Yeah.
year and is
Right.
still
Totally.
growing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
changing.
I think what I notice with polyvagal theory and explaining, and I've always used Deb Dana's The Autonomic Ladder, to just explain the basics of, like, the states.
Mhm.
I felt that same resonance that you felt when I learned about it. It was, like, huge. It was game changing. Changed everything for me. I think
Mhm.
even just the idea that your state creates your story. So I'm like, no wonder years of talk therapy did nothing for me. I'm just, like, dysregulated and, like, talking about all the things I'm thinking while I'm dysregulated, trying to figure things out. And obviously, yeah, I mean, there can be, like, you can have great experiences in talk therapy, but it has its limits in that way. And so when I describe it to clients, I every single time I've ever walked through the autonomic ladder and the different states you can be in based on how safe or in danger your body thinks that it's in, every time people have the same light bulb moment of, like, oh my God, like, that
Mhm.
helps me so, so, so much just to conceptualize what's happening what's happening to you when you feel like
Mhm.
you're 100 different people and you feel like you're crazy and exhausted and don't know why. Anyways,
Yeah.
yes. So the
Yeah.
fact that you, like, put it all together with, like, your artistic burnout is, I mean, so magical because, like, it's to be an artist and to be a creative, you are using your whole body to
Oh,
put
yeah.
things out into the world that don't exist. I mean, you are a magician of sorts, and if you don't know how your
Yeah.
body works, like, you are destined for burnout or worse, or way worse, which we see.
Or way worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was also living under this stigma of the tortured artist that I had totally bought into unconsciously.
Mhm.
And my biggest fear was being happy,
Yeah.
because if I'm
Wild.
happy, how could I make art?
Yeah.
If So that's disturbing to think about, you know?
And also
So
universally, like, kind of accepted as
accepted,
a lot
yeah.
of poets and songwriters and artists are.
So the scariest thing for me to face was like, to be what if I want more than this? What if I could dare
Yeah.
to want more?
Yeah. And so I just sent you a video. Um, Chappell Roan was doing an interview and she talked about how, I don't know if you saw it yet, but she was talking
Mhm.
about how, like, you can do really well in this industry if you don't protect yourself,
Right,
which
right.
I does not have to be true, which I think that's like all of the work that you're doing. But it is such a, we've just seen it so many times that, like, the artists that are the most successful, I've talked about it on this podcast, like the amount of biopics that I've seen, movies that I've seen about artists and their ultimate demise is like burned into my brain. So, like, and I notice this with clients too, they'll just like start catastrophizing about, I mean, like the worst case scenario when they are not expressing themselves at all and they're jumping like 20 steps ahead into, like, what if I'm a
Mhm.
drug addict and I cheat on my husband and then my life falls apart, and they, like, can't even audition for community theater presently because we're
Yeah.
just like programmed to believe that, like, you will eventually probably destroy your own life in pursuit of this art and this career.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not even like, of course, in some conservative religious groups, it's looked at as, like, not good to be a performer, but this has been going on forever. Like, the 19th century was marked by artists stigmatized by mental illness,
Right, like the mentally insane ones were the artists.
but in the 1800s, it was actually tuberculosis,
What
and
do you mean?
it was tuberculosis that was the connection of genius. Like, that if you had TB, you would be like, and there are artists that were like, "Oh, I wish I had tuberculosis."
Oh my gosh, because it
So
makes you a better artist.
yeah. So it's always been kind of it's been stigmatized, and in Shakespeare's time, um, it was melancholy.
Mhm. Makes you a great artist.
Yeah, and it goes all the way back to Plato. Like, it's not, like, even a conspiracy of the Catholic Church. Like, it's so much older than that.
Yeah.
And I think we're entering a new phase where we're realizing that you can create, and if, the brain, it's going to focus on what it knows and its frameworks and its belief system. So it's not going to focus on the David Lynches of the world who loved his life. He meditated his whole life and paid for me and hundreds of artists to have meditation
Mm,
training, or Roy Orbison, who had great friends and a great life. And,
mm.
his wife and 3 kids died in a car accident, and
Huh.
he found a way back to healing and got married again and had more kids. We hear about the artists in the gutter, but, like, we don't hear about the artists that, like, have gone through a lot of shit. Sorry, excuse me.
No, you're good.
Have
We
we
cuss here.
don't hear about the artists who've been through so much and chose life,
Yes. Yeah.
because we glorify the Kurt Cobains and the Amy Winehouses and the the people who die at 27, and it's an obsession
Yes.
because we've kicked artists out of the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like if you were a plumber and someone said, "Listen, I know you love plumbing, but we are gonna take all of your ability to sell your music away. So it's basically free to plumb. You're gonna have to do it for free. But you can totally, like, use social media, and you can build a following, and you can sell plumbing merch, and, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've made it impossible for it's just a conundrum of, like, if you separate something from the marketplace, then you take away everyone's ability to function in the marketplace.
Yeah. What's interesting as you're talking, I'm like, okay. The whole, like, we hear about mostly we hear about the artists. You said artists in the gutter, which I'm like, yes, that's what we hear about. Like the Amy Winehouses, the ones who just, they totally self-destructed their life, or they go from like toxic relationship to toxic relationship, or they're getting DUIs, or they're on drugs, or whatever. And we don't hear about as much the artist that keeps rising and has the fruit of their life is healthy, and
Mhm.
they are resilient, and they keep creating. We hear about artists that quit art so that they can be healthy, but we don't hear about artists that like continue with. We don't
Mhm.
often. But you know where we do hear that is athletes.
Sports. Yeah, exactly.
Athletes, and like I'm thinking like spiritual teachers maybe. Like we hear about that, and yet artists in so many ways are athletes or should
Mhm.
take care of themselves as such, and also spiritual teachers. Um, in a lot of ways. And so I'm wondering, like, what did you find? You talked about the risk of
Mhm.
like confronting that narrative was like,
Yeah.
well, what if it's true and
Yeah.
I'm choosing happiness over my art? Like, what did you discover? I know you discovered a million things, but like, when did you start to feel like there was good news?
I think it was when I could go to the grocery store and not have a panic attack was a big win for me.
Oh, so like personally
Yeah,
with
like
understanding.
taking
Yeah.
care of myself and
Yeah.
honoring my need to survive instead of
Yeah.
bypassing my survival constantly for art.
So did you continue on with art, or did you take a break from music
Well,
and art?
unfortunately, COVID hit in some of that.
Mhm.
So I was kind of forced to leave. And there was a part of me that was so happy that everything was on hold,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? But
Right.
honestly, I was writing and recording during COVID, but I really let myself it's funny because it's like it's not like a lot changed. Like I was still very artistic and I was still creating, but like my focus was my regulating my nervous system because at that time I had a fight or flight set point.
Yeah. Ugh,
And
totally.
and so I was constantly just trying to find all kinds of strategies to when I was triggered, which was almost constantly.
Yep.
So
Same.
I was walking a lot, I was regulating a lot, I was just checking in a lot. I was just a lot
Yeah.
of my energy was going towards shifting instead of leaving
Yeah.
myself in a kind of hyper dysregulated state.
Yeah, totally. Did you have any memories of moments that you were like, "Oh my god, maybe you can be an emotionally healthy artist"? Did you have any like, "Wait, there's good news here," as far as like connecting your performance with everything that you had learned about polyvagal theory and how you had regulated?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that I made a little trailer for this course that I ultimately made, but actually the trailer was one of the one of the many, but I think that might have been the big moment because I was playing at the Boston Opera House for a TED Talk.
Yeah.
It was like their 10-year anniversary, it was a big deal, and they had me open with a song
Wow.
called Matador, and it was just I was used to performing between 3 and 400 people, not 1,500 or whatever the size that
Yeah.
venue was, and my nervous system just was like, "Oh, this is new. This is more people."
Yeah. When was this?
And this was 2018, maybe?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I would have to check on the dates.
I
Uh,
absolutely remember that clip. I can see it
yeah.
playing in my brain as you're talking about it. That was the one that made me go like, "Wait a second, what? Other people are talking about this?"
Yeah, I mean, I basically, like, I noticed at like, because they had a baby grand for me, and all of a sudden my hand functioning stopped working. Like,
Wow.
I had a dissociation of, like, I couldn't figure out where and what the keyboard was. Like, I had never seen it
Yeah.
before. And then I was like, "Okay, I think I'm in, like, fight or flight or freeze," and then my right foot was just shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had already done the polyvagal training on the Cape with, like, a whole bunch of trauma therapists and me, a Labrador, like, "Let me
Yeah. Yeah.
let me, do something with this." And, and so because I had that early polyvagal training, I was like, "Okay, well, whatever you resist increases. So if I try to shut down the shaking and hide it
Yeah.
from the audience, then actually I'm gonna totally freeze, and this is gonna be the worst thing I've ever done." So I
Yeah.
actually just, like, let my leg shake. I try basically let my body dispel the energy from the shaking itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by doing that, instead of clamping it down and making it worse, it kind of uh, it was allowed to release, but then also on top of that, I just took a really deep breath, and then I looked at the audience, and I just kind of did a physiological sigh with them, which is like 2 quick breaths in and a long breath out,
Yeah.
and I just established presence,
Yeah.
and I
I
saw
am here.
them. I took a
Yeah.
second, and then I went back to the piano.
Yeah. Wow. I totally remember that, and I remember you talked about co-regulating with the audience.
Mhm. Yep.
What you talked about in the certification program too, something called calling out your dog, which I
Mhm.
love, love, love the idea of. Takes a lot of bravery, but I know what it's like to pretend like you are not dysregulated and push it down, and then push through and perform and then come off the stage and feel like a wreck. And so
Mhm.
the idea of calling out your dog is the idea of like, if you can, mentioning that you
Mhm.
are
Yes.
dysregulated because
Right.
your dysregulation is pulling focus, whether
Yes, it's
you
pulling
want it
focus.
to or not.
Yes. And that's gonna be the note for any acting teacher or I mean, actors cannot do this, they're in a character, but singer-songwriters have a massive leverage, and the big thing about calling out your dog is you're basically calling out what's present. You're telling the truth, which is the only thing the stage requires. It can hold a whole lotta if it can hold your trauma stories, it can hold
Yeah.
a
Stage
lot,
can hold a lot. Yep, it can.
but it doesn't like lying, and the
Yeah.
audience doesn't like mismatches, meaning,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
you say you're leading, but your body's telling us that you're not safe.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
So by coming into alignment, which is just honesty, you're basically revealing in leadership though. So calling out your dog as a leader means you have to translate your dysregulation in the language of leadership. So
Yes. Right.
instead of saying like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this song is like terrible and I'm gonna play it anyway, but ugh,
Yeah.
man, don't
I
you
feel
always
so
have
scared right now, you guys. I'm so
Yeah.
scared.
Then you're asking the audience to be your parent instead of you being the parent to your audience.
Yes,
So we
right.
flip it around and the it would sound something like, "This is a really new song. I'm gonna
Yeah.
play it anyway. I'm
Uh-huh.
feeling a little nervous about it,
Yeah.
so but I'm just gonna let those nerves go right through the song and, thanks for your grace."
Yeah. Yes.
So you get to be you, but you're doing it through the framework of leadership.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Which oh, there's like 12 directions that I wanna go in right now. So the idea of leadership when it comes to performance was, like, so key to me. It helped me understand why my relationship with a stage was so tenuous was because I really wanted the validation from the crowd. I really wanted I wanted that sense of belonging, to be seen.
Mhm.
Nothing that's inherently bad. It's all like developmental needs to be seen and accepted and to belong. I did not yet know how to give that to myself. And so through any way that I was performing, whether it was well, yeah, any way that I was, like, making art and then, like, showing it. It was, like,
Mhm.
desperately hoping that people would like me, that they would love me, and then if I sensed that they didn't, which was often because I was dysregulated and everything seems so much more threatening when you're in that state, then I was, like, internalize those messages, and it was just this horrible cycle until I really, really did burn out. So, the idea of, like, you say you are the tuning fork.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Meaning that any instrument that's out of tune is going to tune to the tuning fork.
Yeah.
But artists are going to the stage looking to tune to their audience's nervous systems. They're looking for, uh, does that person in the front row like me? Are they having fun? Did they like that song? Do they think I'm ugly? All of the thoughts that we have and feelings that we have, we're projecting on our audience, giving them all the power when
Yeah.
they came to be led by us.
Mhm.
So we tune to our tuning fork and we let them tune to us.
Yeah.
But we have to hold benevolent power for them to tune to us,
Mhm.
or else they can't tune to us.
Right. Yeah. Which is why it's hard for me personally to separate spirituality from creativity because
Mhm.
the idea of like this well and even like psychology calls it the seat of the self like internal family systems um Richard Schwartz talks about how
Mhm.
like everybody has this core part of them that like you said is benevolent, is calm, curious, creative, compassionate, caring. And so like learning how to orient to that version of yourself, know that that's who you are
Mm.
even if you are dysregulated,
Yeah.
and then being able to show up on stage from that place is a totally new way to engage with creativity, and specifically for me, like, singing, songwriting, like, really expressing music through my voice and my body, but it's game changing, and that's what you found as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There it's I had an interesting story because I think there's a lot of singers-songwriters that actually get in their own way in terms of their career growth because they're trying to be seen through their art.
Yeah.
And it actually impedes
Yeah.
the art form of performing.
Yeah.
The only reason I was kind of spared during my career is because I had rigorous acting training, which made me come to the stage not as me, but as the characters in my songs.
Yeah.
And it allowed my wounded parts to take a back seat. It doesn't mean my wounded parts were healed. It just means they didn't get in the way of my performing.
Yeah.
And I also had studied Zen Buddhism pretty intensively. I lived at a Zen center, which means that I also had this muscle of I could tap into pure awareness as who I was,
Mm.
also while performing, so that I could see the performance and the characters in the songs as an expression of cosmic play and not as who I am. which also makes everything so heavy. So that's the only
Yes.
reason,
Yeah.
even though I had a ton of trauma and a ton of self-development to work on, the performance part was locked in just because I got
I
lucky.
see.
I got lucky.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's now something that you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying this incorrectly, but everything that you just said is a basically light explanation of something that you coined super play.
Mhm.
So, you had naturally been, um, in a super play state as a performer before your body
Exactly.
started to,
Yeah,
like, break
right.
break down,
Yeah.
and but you recognize that what you were doing is actually really important and helpful if we are also aware of our nervous system and body.
Yes.
So, can you just I always say, like, when I'm trying to explain super play, the most basic way that I can say it, because it is kind of like it can get, like, a really big I just almost hit the back of my chair. It's like fell over. Yeah. It's kind of like this cool concept that you could just explore
Mhm.
endlessly, but the simplest way I think that I have come to learn it is that super play is, like, conscious pretend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what Porges was exploring was what happens to the nervous system when we defend, what happens to the nervous system when it thinks it needs to play dead, and what happens to the nervous system when we connect. My work is saying what happens to the nervous system when we start pretending.
Yes. Yeah. So exciting. Yes.
Yeah. So I had been super playing. Yes, I had been super playing my whole career. And one of the fun things, actually, the first version of my book, which I'm still going to write, but I had to write the super play book first, is acting for singer songwriters because
Yes. Oh my
I
gosh.
would see other artists struggling. And because of my acting training and because of my Zen training, I knew exactly why they weren't connecting and why they couldn't build an audience. And
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, they probably think it's because they're not talented. They probably think it's them. And it
Yeah.
has
Right.
nothing to do with that. It just has to do with
Yeah.
performance technique.
Yes. Yes. So, like, can you explain if somebody was really struggling with playing Hamlet in Shakespeare,
Yeah.
can you explain, like, how you might work with them to understand super play as a way to engage with the work?
Mhm. Well, it's easier with actors because they know they're playing a role. You have to
Right,
really
that's why I wanna
Yeah.
start there.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
because an obvious role that is,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
there's nothing real about being
Yeah.
Hamlet in
Yeah.
Shakespeare. There's, like, you're not gonna find yourself in that
Yeah.
situation most likely in America,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
so it's because it's an obvious character,
Yeah.
how would you work with somebody to help them engage with that? And then I have I have 150 follow-up
Well,
questions.
could you give me, like, a fake problem to
Yeah,
solve
like
for?
I just can't relate to the character. I'm, like, trying too hard. You're noticing that
Mhm.
they're trying way too
Yes.
hard.
Mhm.
Yes,
Cool.
and you're like, "Okay, pause."
Yeah. Well, I would have a lot to say because this was my biggest problem in acting school, in which I thought acting was getting to show Ruby through all these characters. And, um, basically, I had a teacher that said, "Ruby, if you did absolutely nothing, you'd be Meryl Streep." Meaning that,
Oh,
like,
wow.
I was getting in the way of what was
Yeah.
really needing to be said because I had such a
Yeah.
anxious need to be seen. So the
Totally.
best way I have to explain this is like, um, in a recording studio, all the faders
Yeah.
on the mixing desk, or just, anyone just think of like a row of faders.
Yeah.
Or you could think about it as spinning plates, like someone keeping spinning plates in the air.
Yeah.
But basically you have Superplay is constructed of a lot of faders. So you have consciousness, which is just the fact that we're awake and alive.
Aware. Yeah.
Aware, you can't be asleep to be
Right.
performing.
Right.
We have the fader of the nervous system, which it means that the way that you're going to see the world, move in the world, is based on your nervous system.
Yeah.
And so that fader can go up and down in terms of what's happening with it. We have there's more faders, but there's the fader of self. Who
Yeah.
am I, Ruby Rose Fox? Then there's the fader of the anchor role. Who am I, Ruby Rose Fox, as the actor? What's my relationship
Yeah.
with acting? What are all my tools? Did I learn my lines? Do I know my blocking? Do I know the backstory? Do I know how to recite Shakespeare? Do I know like all the you have to learn the craft. So that'd be the craft
Yeah.
fader.
Yeah.
And then you have the superplay role, which is Romeo and Juliet, or Richard III, or Hedda Gabler,
It's
or
pretend.
all.
It's
It's
fake.
pretend.
Yes.
Or for a singer-songwriter, it would be who they're who's singing, who's the character singing in your song. And so
Yeah.
the problem is there's only so much bandwidth for energy in your body.
Yeah.
And if your self fader is too high, it gets in the way of the character.
Yeah.
Because you can't play yourself and a character that's going through imaginary circumstances while you're also trying to insert yourself.
Right.
So the faders that need to be used the most are just the nervous system as the canvas
Yeah.
and the
Having
pretend.
realizations as you're
Oh,
talking.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like,
So the nervous system is the canvas and the character. If the and so I could get in my own way by being like, well, I wouldn't do that. That would be the self getting in the way. Or it might be like, oh no, like I don't know if I'm going to remember my next line. Meanwhile, you're not acting.
yeah. Right. Yes. Yes.
Or I'm not the feeling of like I'm not a good actor. That would be getting in the way of your character
Right.
as you're singing.
Yeah.
And the relationship when the middle faders are up, the energy goes out and goes back into you. It's about me, me, me. It's about did I study enough? Am I good enough? Am I a good person or a bad person? Am I talented? It's about me. When you're role playing, when you're playing pretend, it's about who you're sending the sound to or who you're sending your line to.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a parasitic, energetic suck to the
Mhm.
relationship that needs to be the story that needs to be told and the relationship that the character is in.
Yeah.
So if I'm singing Jolene, this is the example I use a lot. In Dolly Parton's Jolene, the main character is not Jolene. It's the woman singing to Jolene, and
Right.
she's begging her. She's saying, "You're so beautiful. You have gorgeous red hair. You're amazing. You're so
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
And please don't take my man.
Yeah.
I can't live without him."
Yeah.
That's the relationship. So if I'm singing, but I need you to know that I'm beautiful and good, I'm sucking life out of my
Yeah. Of the
craft.
story.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So where this idea of super play is a very liberating because it shows you how to, and it shows you the health of basically getting into character for
Mhm.
whatever you're doing creatively. So like creatively. So I feel like I've been able to use this as in a lot of different ways. I think it applies, like you said, it applies to singer-songwriters. And I believe, and I would love to, I don't know if this is a separate podcast, but I feel like I would love to talk about how this applies to worship leaders, which I
Yeah.
think is really important. I also think it believes to it applies to like content creators and
Yeah.
um, influencers. Like,
Totally does.
yes, because the problem, okay, and the reason why I think it's important to really understand that kind of output as super play is because the problem that I think artists get into is wanting to be authentic. I want to be totally authentic in everything that I do. We hear it valued constantly, totally authentic all the time. Can you tell us why that's not only unrealistic, but also dangerous? Or I don't know
Because
if you would say dangerous.
it doesn't exist.
Yes. Say more.
I don't wanna be too mystic, but I mean, we don't exist as we think we do. I mean, I would say, like, show me authentic then.
Right.
What is authentic? The more you try to find it, the more it just slips away.
Yes. Right.
It would be like, well,
Yeah.
my authenticity is, my confidence.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, well, if you're feeling sad, does that mean you're not authentic?"
Right.
So it's slippery. It doesn't work.
Well, like I was before this, I was like, telling my teenager to do the dishes. I'm like rushing around trying to like clean stuff up and like figure out my day. And so authenticity, that was just what I was doing throughout the day. So then to come into this podcast, I had to like,
Yeah.
okay, like here we are. I want to like be in that being a podcast host, among other things, is something I authentically chose to
Yeah.
do, but I'm putting myself in the space or I don't know if you would say the character, but like in the
Yeah.
space of like, oh, I'm a podcast. I'm interviewing somebody. If I was
Yeah.
authentic, I would be like, I don't even know, like laying in my bed, like just like taking a chill moment.
Well, like, for example, for you, why did you show up to this podcast not in, like, a stained sweatshirt
Right. Is that a real question?
and your Invisalign in or whatever? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It's
totally.
like,
Yes.
why?
Yeah.
Because we're always role playing all the time.
Yeah. Yes.
So the word I have a word for this because we have to delineate between super play and the social roles we play. So I call it social play. It's the way you know you're being authentic when you show up in a way that makes you proud of yourself. I showed
Mhm.
up in a way, in a style that made my body feel safe and other people feel safe too.
Mhm.
I wore things that made me feel good about myself. That may change.
Mhm.
One day I may wanna dress up and feel fancy, and sometimes maybe I'll find another period of my life where being authentic and my social role play is gonna be more casual. Who knows? But
Mhm.
for now, when I show up like this because it makes me proud of myself.
Mhm.
Authenticity was created by the advertising business in the beginning of the 19th century
Interesting.
to sell us products.
Yes.
And it started with the suffragettes smoking. Like, oh, we need to sell cigarettes, so let's convince these feminists that smoking cigarettes will make them feel powerful. So yeah, I smoke
Mhm.
cigarettes because I'm authentic, because it gives me an
Mhm.
identity.
Mhm. Right.
But like I wanna honor what most people actually mean when they're saying
Yeah.
authentic. I think what people mean when they're saying I wanna feel authentic is that they wanna show up in a social role the way that they desire, but they don't know how, or they don't know if they're
Y
allowed.
yes. Well, and I think what people are saying, and even like the clients that I've worked with, they don't wanna come across as fake. That's like a big nobody wants to be fake. And that leads into like, I don't wanna show up as somebody who's trying too hard. So we have like inner child parts coming up.
Mhm.
And then I think, the more that you go on, authenticity is like, b in its best definition, like the most I always say, like, the most loved version of you. Like, y y you are you're talking about them wanting to sell cigarettes to make women feel more powerful, like, but women are powerful. So, like, what they're selling is the idea that you're not something
Mhm.
without something else. So, like, when we wanna be authentic, I think, like, the genuine definite or the genuine feeling that we're going for is, like, I want to feel, true and I want to feel my worth, and I want to impart worth to other people. Like, that is the authenticity that we're after. And there's like so many layers of fear around not being authentic
Mhm.
that come up when we're performing, because um it can feel fake to our, how we've been programmed so far. For me to go from like, you know, cleaning and like nagging my teenager into like coming into this space and being like, "Hi guys." Like, but that's not fake. Those are two different roles that I play in my life that are the identity that I've chosen and the authenticity of like the woman who does a lot of things because she can, and you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I guess another thing of, like, is that would be a if someone was feeling fake on stage, that'd be a red flag that they didn't have enough performance technique. Because if you
Mm,
are deep in the connection of what you're saying and who you're saying it to and what the stakes are and why you're singing what you're singing and fully pouring yourself into that, you don't have time to consider whether
yeah,
you're authentic or not.
right. You're like, well, you feel safe enough to engage with the thing that
Yeah.
you're doing. That's yeah, feeling fake. Do you feel like another way to say, like, if you feel fake on stage, you technically feel unsafe or, like, ill-equipped?
Say that again.
Like, if you feel fake, if you said
Yeah.
it's a red flag, it's also a red
It
flag of, like, not feeling safe enough to do the thing
it
that you're
it
there to
it
do.
would mean that you're not leading. You're you're needing validation.
Yeah. Yes.
And the thing is like the performing is the PhD of nervous system work
Yeah.
because the second you walk on stage, you're hyper aware of the ways you portray yourself. You're hyper aware of how little connection you have to your nervous system to
Yeah.
being able to be in the present moment.
Yeah.
And that can also kind of, I think when people use the word fake, that can also be what it's about. It's like I don't know how to tell the truth on stage because I
Yeah.
don't know how to tell the truth in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. What do you need again for super play? You said like there's four things. Four things you're
Well,
balancing.
the biggest things you're balancing are your nervous system states. So you're sort of like you're seeing your body, you're seeing yourself go into, "Ooh, wow, I just went into a little fight or flight," or
Yeah.
"I'm starting to freeze," or you're in the safe and social state. You have enough
Yeah.
vagus nerve activity to keep yourself online. So
Yeah.
that's one fader. And the fader of you needs to be down, way down.
Yeah.
Um, and if you're on stage, you should have already made decisions about whether this is an authentic performance for you to do or not,
Yeah. Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
all those self considerations happen off stage.
Yeah.
Um, the self will express itself on its own without your doing, without your
Mhm.
manipulation. And then there's the fader of the anchor role. The anchor role would
Mhm.
be the person who needs to make sure that the performance is going well. So
Yeah.
it might be the little part of you that notices, "Oop, I just slipped up on that line. I gotta focus more." So the
Yeah.
anchor role is really important. It's always kind of watching in the background, being like, "Is everything going okay?" And when it's
Yeah.
not going okay, we need the anchor role to save things when they fall
Yes.
apart.
Yeah.
But we should be practiced enough that the anchor
Yeah.
role can come down. And that's
Yes.
why that not practicing enough can be a form of self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'll
Yeah.
just wing it. I kinda know the lyrics." It's like, "No, no, no, no. That's not gonna
Yeah.
work." Because your anchor role
Yeah.
is gonna be getting in the way of your craft, your art form.
Yeah. Right. Right. Totally.
But then there's the other artists who get practice too much, and then they never, never, never super play. They're basically singing on
Robots.
stage, but practicing in front of you. They're not
Mm,
willing to have a connection in what they're singing about. It's just all about, am I a good singer?
get into character.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So what's the work then, or what are some of the I don't even know how you'd answer this question. What are some of the stages for somebody who is listening that feels like, "Oh my gosh, that's totally me. I freeze on stage," or I feel like, "No, I wanna do this, but I feel freaked out." Like, how do you
Mhm.
help people move towards healthy super play artists and creatives?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is nervous system literacy is the one of one of all performance. Like you have to have
Yeah.
nervous system literacy, which is like you have the basic knowledge of your three big autonomic states.
Yeah.
For artists, frankly, performing artists, you don't just need to know the big states. You need to know that they're a spectrum and all the subtleties from
Yeah.
I'm irritated to I'm full on fight to I'm fleeing to I'm fawning to I'm uh
Panicking.
and even all the flavors in the safe and social state. I'm exuberant. I'm
Yeah.
tender. I'm really,
Yeah.
if your nervous system is the instrument, then you have to be a master of your primary instrument before you can be a master of your secondary instrument.
Yes, because your nervous system affects the way that you see and experience everything. So,
Exactly.
yes, so nervous system literacy to begin.
To begin. Yes.
Mhm.
And then we can start playing with something that Lisa Feldman Barrett would call affective realism, which is what happens when we put language through the nervous system that's not happening. That's not about right now. Meaning like when I start playing Hamlet, how does that language affect my nervous system? And does
Mhm.
that put me in a flavor of a state?
Yeah.
And can I
Right.
ride that like a wave instead of shutting
Yes.
it down? So in super play, where actually all of the nervous system states have been repurposed
Yeah.
in honor of play
Yeah.
and tolerating the ability to feel a character's feelings.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if I said to be or not to be speech, I would feel sad. He's
Mhm.
melancholy. He's sad.
Yeah, it's not like a happy pep talk.
No, he's considering whether it's better to just be dead.
Yeah.
And if I put that language through my body, my nervous system is the brain. Uh, the brain keeps the score. The body is a scorecard.
Yeah.
So if I'm putting language into my body, it's like a resonating chamber, and it reacts.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
so it would be that second phase would be like, okay, now that we have nervous system literacy and embodiment for our day to day, can we now see what it would be like to not play you
Yeah.
and play someone else?
Right. And then it would be the continued, like, artist hygiene of, like, taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
doing your practices to regulate your nervous system, trying to bring up your baseline of regulation if you find yourself more constantly shut
Hmm.
down or anxious, like, trying to raise that up, right?
Yes. And then there's other tools too, because your job is not to have a perfect nervous system. Your job is to be honest about what's in your body right now. So
Yeah.
in the nervous system toolkit, I have a tool called the Truth Portal tool, which would be like that would solve for, okay, I need to play Hamlet, but I'm feeling giddy and happy.
Yeah. Right. How do I get
What
into
do I
this state?
do?
Right.
And the Truth Portal tool would be basically you check in with your core affect, which is your level of pain and your level of activation, and you just name it.
Yeah.
And then you let yourself just speak the language from there. So if you're giggling, you start the monologue from there.
Yeah.
And if that is your truth, it will work
Yeah.
because the stage requires nothing but the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you tried to
Yeah.
start from some kind of like "Oh, I'm crying. I'm so sad," it would come across as inauthentic.
Yeah.
So
So you're
there's
using,
like
like,
yeah,
the raw
we're
material of,
entering into
yeah.
performance theory now,
Yeah,
which
right.
is which is how do we ride the nervous system like a wave when we're playing pretend?
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
surfing.
Yeah, totally, totally. Well, I think that, I'm thinking about, like, what is happening when we aren't the performer, we are the observer of the performer. Like, this might seem like a really basic question, but it's like, I kind of wanna add just to the end of this podcast, what's
Yeah.
happening to us as somebody who's watching a performer. For some reason, I have this example of a friend of ours lost their daughter very, very
Oof.
tragically. And she's a singer-songwriter, and she wrote a song about it. And I had gone through a lot of hard things that I was processing, and I just remember resonating with this song. Like, I listened to it for a while, and I was just crying and having this, like, release, and I was just like, "Isn't it so interesting how she's basically, like, detailing this story that I didn't live, but is tapping into something in me. It's, like,
Yeah.
helping me release
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
happening." What would
Yeah.
you add or say to that experience of why art
Well,
is so
that goes
important?
back to the question of why are humans super playing, which there are many answers for, but I think the biggest obvious key to like, why are we doing this? Why are we listening to
Yes.
someone's song or a story about their child's death? Why, how is that even safe to hear? And
Yeah,
why is it so
right.
profound?
Why is it healing me?
And
Yeah.
I think the key to that is looking at children and you don't have to teach a child how to super play.
Right. You
You put
sure
one
don't.
kid in a room and you put another
Yeah.
kid in a room and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna play my
Yeah.
grandmother and you're gonna play a bear with poop on its face. Go."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they both well, first they have to agree on their role, which is very
Yeah.
important. And then
Yes.
they like they play it out, or I'm a dinosaur and you're a fairy. And then they see what it's like. And
Yeah.
as they get older, they actually start playing more realistic roles. They start wanting to play roles like, I want to play a teenager or a babysitter. When I was little and my sister was about to go to school, we played school.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we actually super play to learn how to be an adult in a social world. It's actually a part of the social system,
Yes. Yeah.
but we learn with zero stakes. So
Yeah.
if I make a mistake as a student in play, then I learn something and I can apply that to real life when I go to kindergarten.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing is that most of society stops actively super playing and they start passively super playing. So they instead of playing out roles, we watch Netflix or we go to the theater.
Ah.
Um,
Yeah.
so basically, some adults never stop super playing. They want to keep actively super playing.
Yeah.
And I think it is like a part of
Those are the artists and creatives.
yes.
The active super play. Yeah.
And so the active super play helps a nervous system understand what might happen if something else happened to you that's never happened to you before
Mhm.
without it being dangerous
Mhm.
to give you more information about the future.
It's as a way to grow.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was in a production. No, I wasn't in production. I was asked to come guest act in a rehearsal for an all male Titus Andronicus, which is the most violent play that
I
Shakespeare wrote.
remember this story. Yes.
Yeah, and they asked me to play Lavinia, who, gets dragged off stage, they cut off her arms and her tongue, and it's a disgusting, yeah, bloody, gruesome
Horrible.
story.
Yes.
Um, but 2 of the men I knew from another play and from Emerson and all the other men in the cast were super safe. But they brought me in because the actor playing Lavinia, the man playing Lavinia, because it was all male,
Mhm.
um, they were jerking him around, and the actors weren't, like, actually tapping into what it would be to actually assault a woman.
Mm.
And the actors, like, resisted. They were like, "We're not doing that." And then we did it. We kinda decided that it was safe, and then because they
Yeah.
needed to know I was safe, and I said, "It's fine." And I remember we were playing the scene out, and 2 of them took my hands, 2 of them took my legs. We had planned this out, so it was stage combat.
Yeah.
But even though it was stage combat, I was kind of fighting them in
Yeah.
character, and
Right.
all of a sudden, my body went limp, completely limp without
Wow.
my doing.
Wow. Your
And
nervous system
then,
took over.
of course, I forgot my lines because I was just they weren't really in there because I wasn't really playing the role, and the director was like, "Ruby, you have a line," and then I was like, "Oh," and then out of my mouth, I was begging for my life. And
Mm.
then after, I was, like, walking around Harvard Square in Boston, just like, I learned something incredibly tender, which is, like, I wouldn't
Mm.
fight if I was attacked.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
fight, I would freeze. I
Yeah.
would play dead. My body
Mhm.
would.
Mhm.
And that like, that's a really intense example of what I'm talking about, but, like, we
Sure.
learn. That's why actors, I think the real actors, the one that aren't doing it for validation, the ones that are
Healthy artists.
obsessed, yes, healthy artists that are obsessed with humanity.
Yeah.
And actually, no, it's not one or the other. It's like you can have both going on at the same time for sure,
Sure. Yeah.
right? It's not binary. Uh, it's this love for this human, it's a form of love for this
Yeah.
human being that we're instrument that we're in.
Human bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the collective impact is that the world, eh, any audience member also feels a flavor of what the actor's feeling.
Mhm.
So we leave more curious and compassionate after a play is over, hopefully.
Yes, if we're
It
engaged. Yeah.
disorients the ways that we thought in the past and give us new perspective, which is a kind of
Yeah.
collective growing up, maturating
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
society. So places like the United States that have defunded the arts are slowing down our collective maturation.
Mm. Yeah. I think a
And
lot of us
so
could feel that.
hearing that story, it's like you had the opportunity to have a flavor of what it might be like to lose a child without
Mhm.
having that trauma actually happen to you.
Which also helped me feel, like, accompanied in my own pain that I was processing,
Mhm.
which tapped into that truth of, like, I really am not alone. We aren't alone, which is also the beauty of art. So then
Right.
what happens when we are listening or watching something exuberant and wonderful and we're like, I mean, I feel like this is kind of an obvious answer, but, like, from the flip side of, like, being able to experience some of the harder things, like, how does being able to experience some of the, like, wonderful things help us, or why do we do that
Like,
from your
give me an
nervous,
example.
like, if I'm watching a musical and I'm just like, I would never obviously, like, live in where I'm not gonna live in a musical as much as I would
Yeah,
like to,
yeah.
but I feel so, like, lit up and connected to some, maybe it's the same answer, some truth of connection and, like, joy and hope. I'm like a hopeful to a fault as a person, but I feel like I'm like,
Yeah.
I just feel so alive and connected to things like that as well. It's basically the same concept.
Same idea, yeah. It just puts us all back into connection of being
Connection.
human, joy. And let's be fair, there's some magic going on. I mean, not actual magic, but
Of course, you don't have to convince me
like
of that.
theater and music are the closest thing we have to magic,
Yes,
and
totally.
it's that feeling of like, there's no words, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Well, on that note, it's all magic, people. That's what the point of it. If people wanna find you, where should they go?
Um, they should go to muscle-music.com
Mhm.
and or my Instagram, muscle
Yes.
music.
Muscle Music,
Yeah,
and Ruby Rose Fox is the music
is
side.
my
So
yeah. The music
Yeah.
side, yeah.
So Ruby is an incredible teacher. She has this amazing certification program that, I mean, I feel like every artist should go through. That's like, there's just nothing like it out there. And I think like time is going to prove its necessity and its value, and it's worth more and more and more. So if any of you artists and performers are interested, I would definitely look into that. And then just as you're also on Spotify.
Yeah.
Ruby
I'm
is also a singer-songwriter extraordinaire, so check out her music as well. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you so much for having me. It was so fun to chat.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.